I will not support Michael Vick. You cannot guilt me. You cannot trick me into rooting for Michael Vick. And I have had this argument going all the way back to when he got convicted of killing dogs in 2009. I have heard every defense you could possibly think of, whether that he paid his debt or that now he said he's sorry and he's spoken out against it and he has every right to pursue work and they have every right to hire him. He's in the news. I'm going to bring up exactly in just 1 second. But like I said, I do not have to root for this guy just because you told me so. Whether he's paid his debt, whether he's spoken out against it since, whether he has every right to pursue his work, whether the team has every right to hire him, whether you have every right to root for him and forgive him, that's fine. That's all your choices. But then why am I not given the same allowance to go, dude, the guy tortured and killed dogs. I don't want to root for the guy. Sorry.
Fuck Michael. Fuck him. Fuck him.
I'm not going to support Michael freaking Vick. So the reason I bring it up again as this old topic has reared its ugly head is Michael Vick is once again back in the news as a possible coach. So I'll let you know this.
And I read.
Michael Vick has reportedly been talking to Norfolk State, Sacramento State about head coach openings. The former Atlanta Falcons and Philadelphia Eagles quarterback is currently in discussions with both Norfolk State and Sacramento State to take over as head football coach. This would be, of course, the first head coaching job for Michael Vick, who is now working as an analyst for Fox Sports. And of course, everyone loves him. Everyone that grew up, if you were cool, you liked Michael Vick. I mean, he had those great runs at Va-Tech where he took the Hokies to the national title back in 99. He was, of course, the first black quarterback ever selected #1 back in 2001. He's the Allen Iverson of the NFL. Like, if you had any sort of coolness to you, you wanted to root for Michael Vick. I remember all this, and I was rooting for him at the time. But then he, of course, got convicted 2009 for spending and had to spend 2 years in prison for financing a dog financing operation. And it's been unclear, by the way. Sacramento State and both Norfolk State have also both said that, look, we've just been talking to him. We're not sure. I think they're starting to get some backlash here a little bit. But it still goes all the way back to the original point that I'm going to make, because this is a pet peeve of mine, and I'm going to move on from this. The guy tortured and killed dogs, man. Like, that's not a small thing to me. That's not like an oopsie, or that's something to go, hey, my bad about. He tortured and killed dogs. I'm a dog person. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a stranger, if you're my immediate family. If you kill dogs, I'm not going to root for you to play football. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So for people that don't really remember, and I think that's where a lot of the crux of this comes from, because again, I've heard all the same stupid arguments, and I've had friends get really mad at me about this over the years because of other things, around the situation, trying to explain to me, it really wasn't that bad. I think everyone needs a refresher course, just exactly what Michael Vick and his co-defendants did when they were arrested and convicted in 2009. From 2001 to 2007, Michael Vick and his friends ran a kennel called Bad News Kennels Dogfighting Ring. He received 23 months. Now, he received even more sentence than his fellow coworkers in this, by the way, because they rolled on him. The other people that were arrested rolled on Michael Vick. That's why he got the 23 months for having this organized dogfighting ring. But I mean, the way that he did it, he didn't just have dogfights. That's not like all he did was have dogfights and go home. No. This guy had a significant weird pleasure out of torturing and killing animals, man. I mean, he had to sign, this was a big part of it, he had to sign an affidavit to plead guilty. That's how he was able to get his lesser sentence and admit to some of the stuff that he did. And if you don't know some of the stuff that Michael Vick actually did, you just saw the headline in the news, I think it's worth mentioning. So they know for a fact that at least 8 of the dogs that Michael Vick executed were done through either hanging, drowning, and one he slammed on the concrete and either broke its head or neck. He again signed a confession and said that he did all this. Matter of fact, in part of the affidavit you can read also, all this is on Google, they said he hung approximately 3 dogs, quote, by placing a nylon cord over a 2x4 that was nailed to 2 trees. They also drowned approximately 3 dogs by putting the dogs' heads in a 5-gallon bucket of water. They killed 1 dog by, quote, slamming it to the ground several times before it died, breaking the dog's back or neck. Also, Michael Vick admitted to, and his buddies, that they used bait dogs. This is a big part of dogfighting rings, where they would take other people's pet dogs and basically give them to their dogs to murder for them. The main thing worth noting in that part of the case is that they were quoted as saying they laughed, that they thought it was funny. They thought it was funny to watch people's pet dogs be murdered. This is something he did on a Friday when he was bored. This is something he did as a millionaire. He had all the options to not do this. So I'm sorry. I just have a hard time with somehow I'm the asshole here because I don't want to watch him play football, or I don't want to root for him as a head coach, and I hope he doesn't get the job at Sacramento State. That's fascinating to me. Like, it's fascinating to think that there could be 3 strangers in a room, me, 2 other people, and one guy suddenly starts running a dogfighting ring. The weak ones, he goes and shoots one, he drowns another, he electrocutes another, slams another one on its head, and then later the other guy goes, hey, that guy's about to play in a football game later, do you want to root for him? And if I said no, suddenly I'm the dick. Suddenly I need Jesus. Excuse me, this guy just tortured animals for fun, and it's dogs, man. Some of the sweetest. I know they're not humans and dogs are dogs, but dogs are some of the sweetest, most trusting creatures ever. This guy thought it would be amusing for him and his buddies to murder them, and then the weak ones that weren't able to be up to snuff, he electrocuted, hung, and shot. So yeah, you've thrown every argument at me, and you can keep trying to throw them at me. He said he's sorry. He served his time. You know, sometimes dogs fight. It's a lot like hunting. Are my 2 favorite, and the ones I got to bring up, is that other people are worse, which is just fascinating that somehow people still want to use there's other people out there who do bad stuff too. Okay, 2 wrongs make a right, fair enough. Then the other one that is my absolute favorite is the one that his lawyer used, which was that you got to understand it's where he came from and this is how he was raised. That one is absolutely just mwah, because, I mean, look, there's about 5 or 10 things that I could think of off the top of my head that I won't bring up right now, that if I tried to defend the undefensible by using the argument, well, you know, it's not really their fault, it's where they're from and how they were raised, y'all would lose your mind. I would be canceled before this was even released out to the internet. If there's a lot of things I could talk about, where if I said, well, you know, it's really no big deal. I mean, you got to understand, that's where they came from. That's how they grew up. That's what they were taught. If I used that as a way to defend some of the stuff in 2024, that wasn't acceptable in 1989. So please miss me with the, that's how he was raised argument. That one is amazingly full of shit. But just in general, again, I can't imagine a situation where I watch someone torture a dog and then you go, hey, would you like to see them do really well in this football game tonight? And I said no. Suddenly, somehow, he's the good guy and I'm the bad guy. This has been twisted. This has been spun over the years. I've had this argument over and over and over. You're not going to trick me. You're not going to guilt me. You're not going to use the black quarterback thing. You're not going to use where he's from. You're not going to use any sort of bullshit argument to try to guilt me into this. I will never support Michael Vick personally. I fully understand that he has every right. He has been released. He has served his time. He said he's sorry and everything else. And if anybody wants to hire him or root for him, that is fair game and that is your choice. But you cannot take away my choice to say, I don't give a damn about Michael Vick. I'm glad when he retired. I hope he doesn't get this coaching job. And if he does get the coaching job, I hope they lose 100 games in a row and he's considered the worst coach of all time. I don't like people who torture, shoot, electrocute, hang, and murder dogs.
Michael, fuck him.
I mean, I really think I could leave it at that. I don't really know what else to say about that other than I think I've kind of covered it. You guys are killing me with all this, well, you got to understand, that's where he came from, or he said he's sorry. That would not work on a lot of different arguments that you guys bring up in 2024 if I flipped that on you and said, well, you got to remember, that's how, bullshit. All right, moving on.